Welcome to B-Flow Sessions, the podcast where we help you find and stay in the flow on the water and in life. I'm your host, Brad Burton. Join me as I sit down with paddlers, athletes, and adventurers who are all seeking the flow. B-Flow Sessions is brought to you by our friends at Pucon Kayak Retreat. Are you dreaming of a Chilean whitewater escape this winter? Picture turquoise rapids, warm sunny days, and world-class rivers for every skill level, all based out of a riverside retreat built by paddlers for paddlers. If that sounds like your kind of winter, then Pucon Kayak Retreat is the place. To learn more or to book your dream kayak trip, reach out to me directly at bflowkayak@gmail.com and I'll help you get connected. Also, thanks to our partners who keep us in the flow. B-Flow Sessions is powered by Dagger Kayaks. Wherever there's water, Dagger Kayaks will help you find your flow. Team-tested, paddler-proven designs for all paddlers and all water. And thanks to our partners at Sawyer Paddles, Stohlquist PFDs, and Level 6 Gear for keeping us in the flow. Welcome to the next episode of B-Flow Sessions. I'm your host, Brad Burton, and tonight I am joined by somebody who I've really had the great joy of getting to know via social media. Now it's a great chance to talk to him, and we're kind of from the same area, but we're a little bit different in ages. So it's somebody I'm glad to connect with and want to connect with in real life soon. Hope to get up to join him on the Ottawa at some point. But ladies and gentlemen, Casey Bryant Jones. Casey, welcome to B-Flow Sessions.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
So Casey is the director of the Ottawa Kayak School. He's a former NOC instructor, and that's kind of how I know him. And he's also led trips in Chile and all over the world. And we were talking before we started recording, and he was saying he's not at the upper echelon of kayakers. And I think there's quite a bit of modesty there, because if anybody knows Casey, knows and see his exploits on social media, he is definitely one of the top kayakers in the world, and is an amazing creator as well, video and photography. So we're going to hear a lot about that. But again, Casey, thanks for being on B-Flow Sessions.
Thank you for having me again. No modesty though, there's a bunch of really good paddlers out there. So
there definitely are, but you're definitely one of them. So Casey, speaking of, how did you find your flow in kayaking? How did it all start for you?
Oh man, I actually did not find my flow readily. This will mean something to you because you used to live in the NPNL housing up at NOC, the staff housing by Patton's Run that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
But when I was a kid, my very first lap down the Nantahala, I flipped in Patton's Run and got a bunch of stitches in my right eyebrow. And it took me a very long time to find my flow in kayaking. And it didn't happen until probably I connected with Wayne Dickert. So Wayne was the former head of the kayak school at NOC, and he went way out of his way for so many kids. I mean, and just like coached us free of charge, took us to events and helped us, train for events free of charge. And if it hadn't been for him, I don't know if I would have ever found my flow with kayaking. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned earlier, too, Chris Hipgrave was also one of your first flow mentors.
Yeah.
So it's funny, they were both two of my mentors as well, 20 years earlier.
Yeah. I mean, those guys have sage advice, and they have developed so many kayakers. I mean, and they still paddle. They still like to paddle. And one of the things that they both really held true and dear to their heart was that kayaking needed to be fun first and foremost. Mm-hmm. And, I think that is the reason why they still paddle and they still enjoy paddling, is because it's fun for them. But then if you look at all of the people that they've coached over the years and all of the people that they've been connected to, they still paddle in some way, shape, or form. It's not like they totally hung it up. And I think that that lesson that they taught early on was something that helped me find my flow. So,
well, take us through though then your paddling career from as a youth in Western North Carolina, and then go on. I know you took some time off from kayaking, but then came back to it as an adult in a big way, and then lead us all the way up to
how you discovered the Ottawa Kayak School.
All right. So as a kid, my brother saw a whitewater kayak and decided it's what he wanted to do. My older brother is definitely still my hero in a lot of ways. He's the one that kind of pushed us off the proverbial edge towards kayaking, and he saw it and wanted to do it. And that was how we got started. We ended up at NOC. He saw people playing down at the wave. Probably it was you.
I might have been one of them.
You might have been. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it probably was you. But at the old wave where you used to have to stack the rocks to make it decent to surf.
Yeah,
I
back
still
when
remember
flat
those days.
spin was the maybe a roundhouse every now and then.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's how we got started. And we ended up at a summer camp, and kind of he got into it super heavy, super fast, and got really good. And I did not. And actually, with that, experience of being upside down and, getting hurt, I actually didn't paddle for a little while. And, my parents were like, well, you're not going to sit at home, so you can find something to do on the edge of the river. And so my dad actually got me a camera. And that's
Okay.
when my, kind of camera infatuation started, was at that same time.
Okay.
And I was taking pictures of my brother and my dad going down the river. And
Nice.
then eventually I got a little older. And as you know, EJ did something incredible for the paddling community when he came up with the kids' boats.
Sure.
But at the time, there were not kids' boats.
Right.
This will make you laugh. My first kayak was a Perception Ultra Clean
Okay.
an 11-year-old.
Yeah. You could have laid down
It was
vertical in that thing.
pretty much, yeah. So it just wasn't, it wasn't as conducive for kids to learn. And about the time I was 13, I think that's when, one, I had gotten big enough, and then two, I'd also kind of gotten strong enough to feel like I could be in a kayak. And the person that actually taught me how to roll was my brother. So,
Okay.
he taught me how to roll in about 10 minutes, and at the time he would have been 15. And so he was pretty sure that he wanted to be a kayak instructor, and we had just gotten to know Wayne very well, or Wayner. Most people know him as Wayner. And
Yep.
he really took to us in a way that we didn't deserve. He really helped us out quite a bit, as he did with so many other people. But we kayaked a ton. I had some really cool opportunities that Wayner actually set up for us. So when I was a teenager, he got me connected to Piranha Kayaks really early on, and made some introductions. And I felt like a really cool teenager when I had Piranha stickers on my car, that
Heck
were all
yeah.
the way down the door. And I was like, yes, I have made it. And then, I got through the end of high school and got going into college and university. And, my priorities shifted. I just found myself living in Atlanta, and I started work, and then all of a sudden I just wasn't kayaking anymore.
Yeah.
There was a close call that spooked me. But it's like everyone else, if you do something enough, you'll have things happen, and that's what happened. So it kind of spooked me, and I didn't really want to kayak anymore after that. And then started working, and a few years went past, and I had gained a ton of weight, and I was looking to lose the weight. I had been going to the gym, and I wasn't getting it off. And I was like, man, kayaking, I was always decently fit when I was kayaking. I should start kayaking again. And, I started kayaking again and started getting out on the water as an adult. And then it just became the only thing I wanted to do. And I still regret, I was going to do a trip with Maria Noakes to the Zam. And I bypassed the last trip that she did because I couldn't get the time off from the job that I had at the time. And, unfortunately, then she passed away. And I kind of felt like that was a huge catalyst for me in a lot of ways, because it was, like a moment where I was like, man, like nothing is actually certain. Like I'm never going to just be able to do these things.
Right.
Because as a kid, Maria was one of those people around NOC that just developed so many paddlers, and never in a million years would I have expected what happened to her on the Chioa to happen. Like I paddled the Chioa with her dozens of times, if not, close to 100 times. Like I got on the water with her there a bunch, and just around the area a bunch. And she was always one of the best paddlers on the water.
Absolutely.
And so it was sobering in a way, and it kind of, I just wanted to make that change. And so at the time, Chris was actually the president of operations. Chris Hipgrave was the president of operations at NOC. He hadn't left for Piranha yet. And I reached out to him, and I was like, I want to come and work at NOC. And I actually originally applied for the event organizer, because I was like, surely I can't be a kayak instructor. Like I've just only gotten back into it. And he was like, I can tell you don't want this job. And I am really glad that he did that for me. But he did suggest that I, do the kayak instruction for a summer, and also then let in the little Easter egg that they had come to an agreement with David Hughes down in Chile. And I had always wanted to go to Chile. There was this incredible poster of Jared Sarasolsis running Garganta del Diablo, or Coracle, on the Claro, and I had that up in my room when I was a teenager. And I was like, man, like I could actually go to this river that I've always wanted to go to. And so I made the move to, move up to NOC and start working, and it was awesome. And, one of the things that I have to, say publicly is, while I was at NOC, there were a number of times where I was just like, I'm not getting enough opportunities. I was like thinking this to myself. And it's really funny looking back on it now, being in the same role that Tosh was in, as a manager and director. And it's so interesting to have, because there were a lot of very dynamic people that came into the kayak school just before me at NOC, and just a little bit after me as well.
Sure.
And
what years were you at NOC?
So I showed up in 2015, and I was there until 2018.
Okay.
So I was there for like a 3-year stint. And I guess 2016. Yeah. So 2-year stint. But there was just a lot of very dynamic people there. And he had a tough time balancing it. Not because he was doing a poor job. It was just like everybody wanted. Well, it was, one, he had a bunch of great instructors, and then 2, he just had a bunch of hungry people that wanted opportunities. And I, looking back on it now, I'm like, man, he actually handled us really well. But
that's so funny to hear you say, because that described, like, to the T, my generation too, kind of like late 90s through like 2005. There was so many of us who were charging hard, and like, before Wayner was the head of instruction, it was a lady by the name of Ellen Babers. It was Tom DeQueer's ex-wife, and she was the head of instruction, and she did something ingenious. And you may be like, oh, I already do this, but because there was so many people charging hard, she created a point system. Yeah. And whoever the top 10 instructors at the end of the point system, we got an all expense paid trip to the Galley for a week.
Wow.
Like NOC van, like NOC credit card.
That's
and
sick.
We all got to go. We did the Upper Yacht, we did the New, we did the Galley. And there was like a scoreboard in her office how you did. It was really cool.
That's super cool. Yeah.
Kept a bunch of like aggro kayak instructors in line that way.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really unique way of doing it. I think one of the things that was really interesting is, I pitched this idea to, I had talked it over with a couple of the other instructors that I was working with there, and I pitched this idea to Tosh about there being a slicey boat clinic on the Ocoee. I was like, I really wanted to make it happen because, I like that half slicey boat, like stern squirts, pivot turns. Like I love that. And I pitched it, and he's like, yeah, if you can sell it, we'll run it. And that was the first time I had ever had somebody just say, yeah, you sell it, we'll run it. Nice. I was like, whoa, and I was like, really? And then we sold it and we ran it, and it was awesome. And, it's just like it's a one-off clinic. And, I don't think Tosh realizes how impactful that was, because I use that same approach all the time. When people come to me with an idea and say, I would like to do this, I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. You sell it, make it happen, Right. And I up until that point, even working a more traditional career, I had never had someone just be like, yeah, you make it happen, we'll make it happen on our end, And
very cool.
It was very cool. That was like a huge lesson that I learned from him. And then now as we kind of moved past NOC, I was working for Dave down in Chile, and Dave's spot in Chile is the best place to be in terms of logistics. Logistics are everything. NOC, the reason why NOC is so successful is partially because of the dynamic people. The other portion of it is the logistics. They're literally at the end of the river, and that helps. That helps substantially. And David is on the most predictable water section in the Pucon area called the Trancura, and it always has enough water to paddle. Both the upper and the lower section always have enough water to paddle. I have never seen it too low to paddle. And he is perfectly positioned between the upper and the lower, and is kind of the midway point.
Right.
And his logistics are easy. I mean, they're just, everything out of his property is super easy. And so because of that, so many kayakers would come through there while I was spending time at Dave's. And I got to reconnect with Dane, who I'd met as a teenager and kind of run in parallel circles to when I was a teenager. And I got to reconnect with a number of other people and connect with new people as well, being at Dave's, because it was the hot spot.
Sure.
And as a teenager, I'd always heard about Keeners, and I'd always heard about the Ottawa River, and I'd always been like, man, that would be a place I would like to go. And it wasn't until I worked with Caleb Grady down there that I was like, man, I should go there. That's a place I should go. And a few years prior, I'd actually met his cousin and now my wife in Atlanta in this whole roundabout way. But she, the interaction with her was one of the interactions that actually got me back into the sport, was just remembering how cool the people were. And it was really interesting to me how I could spend an entire evening with someone and their phone hadn't come out, and you just talking with them. And that really took me back. But, it turned out that Caleb was due to take the job that I have now before he took the job as the head coach of World Class Kayak Academy, before now becoming the head of the school. And he and I got along quite well when we were working together at Dave's, and had a lot of the same idiosyncrasies as well. And so when he called Katie to let her know that he wasn't going to be taking the job, he said, I would like to make sure that you're, set up for success. I'm working with this guy down in Chile. And she was like, oh gosh, that's the guy I met in Atlanta. Whoa. Which is kind of funny. So we did an interview, and as you could expect, the interview went really well. And I was like, this looks cool. But I had just been offered a job out in California working at Sierra South on the Kern. And, I turned the job down, and turned down coming to the Ottawa to go out to California and work for Evan Moore's family at Sierra South. And honestly, I'm really glad that it happened, because if I had not done that, my wife would not be my wife. She probably would still be my boss, and I would probably still be living in a van. um, but I went out to California, and again, I met Evan down at David's place down in Chile, and Evan had me out there, and in 2019 there was wicked water levels, like super high water, and I got to really push myself in a way that I had never pushed myself running whitewater. And I got really lucky to be there with Evan Moore and with Johnny Chase, and they were incredibly just like receptive, one, and then two, incredibly accommodating to let me come with them on those paddling trips, because like they already had like pushed and done really hard things together, and then I was kind of like this unknown commodity where I paddled a little bit with Evan down in Chile, but not a tremendous amount. And I managed to grab some pretty good photos and video of him while we were in Chile, which
Always
probably
helps.
played into why I got to go some of the places in California that I did with them. And I also then got to go and paddle with Dane as well. And Dane definitely was very accommodating as well. So I appreciate that, because there were several runs without those guys I probably wouldn't have done or gotten to do while I was out there. So, and then
Very cool.
coming to now,
Yeah.
I landed in the Valley because Katie and I ended up starting date to date, and it was one of those deals where I was going to end up in the Valley at some point, and we basically got to a point where it was like, I appreciate that you like doing things and traveling all over the world, but if you want this thing to work, you're going to have to decide to be here for the summer, because her goal and her brother's goal is to continue to have a functional business that is continuing to grow and continuing to to be the top tier option in the area. That's their goal, and to continue to develop it in a different way than it had been in the past, to kind of polish it further than what it is now. And so I was like, man, like I can get behind that. That's somebody that like knows what she wants, and like really is super excited about the opportunity to take something that already is so successful and try to develop it further. And so I moved up here in 2020, and it was a very weird year to move.
Yeah.
But we made it work, and we ended up moving locations. So the first year I was here, Joe, Katie's dad, was able to get us set aside as an essential service because we were doing construction as we were moving. And so none of us got laid off. If I had been laid off, I would not have been seen as an essential worker and would have had to go back to the U.S.
Oh, wow.
So I'm very appreciative of that as well.
Yeah.
That was real neat. But we've over the last 5 years, I've actually 6 years now. We've been developing a property that's about 9 kilometers further upstream than the old one, and it again is positioned like the NOC is on the Nantahala. It's at the end of what is widely regarded as the whitewater stretch of the river. And so, you literally, it is while you were up in 2001, it was the River Run property. But now it's where Wilderness Tours is. And so we have like a logistical advantage just because we can be on the water much longer. So we're literally paddling back to home base, which is really neat. And then because we're right at the end of the whitewater stretch for like beginner instruction, we have class 1 current right at the edge of the bay that we teach. So if you've got somebody that's really getting edging down, you just paddle them out to the current and let them try peeling in and out without having to get to a physically different location. There's no driving,
Right.
which is pretty wild to
That's
have
cool.
that resource. So, and then now I'm here, it's, being on the Ottawa is kind of like the best case scenario for someone like me at my current juncture of life. Like it's got features and moves that are big and still make me nervous. And then it is also at the same time a place where I can go downriver with my 3-year-old.
Let's eddy out and take a quick break. Do you need a break from the cold of a North American winter? Then let's head south to the best whitewater on earth at Pucon Kayak Retreat. Email me at bflowkayak@gmail.com to learn more about how you can take the ultimate paddling adventure in the heart of Chile. Now let's peel out and head downstream.
Daughter,
Right.
It's like it has both of those things
Sure.
in one river, which is wild. So
yeah. It always like big, fluffy, like it can be scary if you want it to be, but just like you don't have to worry about things if you're in the right spot. It's like
exactly
kind of like
it's like the Zambezi but without alligators.
Man, the Zam, in a lot of ways, I think the Zam is less friendly. I just having really the thing that makes people the most nervous here is the amount of water that is here.
Right.
But because it's so different. But
right.
In terms of the Zam, like the Zam definitely gets a lot of those same feelings, but you're at the bottom of a 250, 400 foot canyon with rapids. Like the biggest difference I would say between the two is where you do have flat water, because you're not in the bottom of a canyon and they open up into kind of big receiving pools.
Right.
You have an opportunity for that water to dissipate its energy quite a bit. So you will have boils and whirlpools, but then eventually those things kind of die down and calm down, and then you keep going downstream,
Right.
Whereas like the Zam, at least in the experience that I had while I was paddling, a lot of those things kind of perpetuated a lot longer. So
that was cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's go paddling now and tell me about a perfect flow day. So this is a day that just sticks out into your mind, kind of on the shelf. If it was a trophy, it'd be on the top of the shelf there for this perfect day.
A perfect day on the Ottawa for me is when I get to sneak out on the river with my wife.
Oh, cool.
It's really fun. Like, I mean, last night we got out with our friends as well, but like getting to go through a rapid like Coliseum right now and like look downstream and see my wife bobbing up over top of a wave and disappearing and being like, oh, okay, did she make it through that one? And then she comes back up on the backside of the next wave. It's like, I don't know, there's something about that that's really cool. I have dated non-paddlers and paddlers, and I can tell you that as a paddler, it is nice to be married to someone who is a paddler, because again, you have those moments of like stoke and joy, and it's like, whoa, like you got so much air off that wave, and it's very cool to have that relationship where you're still like a husband and wife or a boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever, and then you're also still sharing the stoke moment as well of like, oh my God, you caught so much air off that wave, or like that was such a big blunt, or whatever, like those, that kind of like type of excitement is very fun to have, so
that's super cool.
Yeah.
What about the opposite? Tell us about a time when things didn't go so well. If we paddle long enough, we're going to get both of these types. But tell us about it.
Yeah.
Maybe I call it the flood.
The flood,
But it could be on or off the water, but hopefully one that ended up being just a fun story to tell around the campfire.
Yeah. So I would say my closest call that ever happened in the flood moment that like probably definitely freaked me out the most actually happened in my last trip to Chile. I hadn't really talked about it much, but there's this awesome rapid on the Trencura. It's called Mariman, and there's this rock that I have sea launched off of so many times. And I just had one of those moments where you're a little fatigued and you just like huck your body forward to get your skirt on just because it's feeling a little tight. I did that and I ended up upside down in like this like sieve thing, lost my paddle, ended up with a giant hole in my skirt. But there was a moment where, I don't know how long it was because I was like, there was so much adrenaline. So you have no idea what it really was. I had this moment where I stopped. I was on the back deck of my boat and I was like stuck and the boat was just oscillating and I could feel it oscillating. And what was happening is my skirt was being torn apart, I ended up with like 3 or 4 holes about the size of tennis balls in the skirt.
Gosh.
And I was like, man, is this how it ends? What is happening? And then sure enough, like the boat ends up passing through whatever I was stuck on. I roll up and like my paddles, like, I don't know, like 20 feet away from me. And I grab my paddle and I paddle downstream and I'm just like, I make it through the next rapid, which is called Ultimo Sonrisa. And you get down to the bottom and everybody's like, hey, is everything okay? I guess I looked like I had seen like a ghost or something. I was like,
and
I just
you
like,
got holes on your spray skirt.
I just pointed at my skirt and I was just like, I just had a moment,
Yeah.
So that was the least optimal moment. But again, that also is coming on like the heels of having 2 beautiful little girls and being married. And I was like, holy cow, like this can't be it,
Yeah, it changes your perspective pretty quick.
Well, I mean, in that scenario, I had said, oh, I'll drone you guys through this next rapid because I had my camera with me and I was like, keep going. I'll get you through this rapid and I'll catch up, and I've done that so many times and never had a problem, and it's just like that idea of you throw enough things against the wall, eventually something sticks. And it kind of rearranged how I want to like take risks,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah.
I want to shift now to flow advice, and you've given so much advice to so many paddlers. So think about a new paddler. I mean, what advice people come to Ottawa Kayak School and they're like, hey, I want to learn how to kayak, regardless of their age. What is some of the first things you tell people when they're learning to kayak?
Ooh, the first is tension is the enemy. That's okay. Like, that is a line that I like a lot. And if you can kind of think about it from a variety of different ways, but if you think about the role specifically, you can actually do this, while you're listening to this podcast, is stand up really tall and pretend like you're trying to pull your knees to your chest, tighten your core, tighten your back, and now try to move side to side, right? And that side to side, almost like a oblique crunch, basically what ends up happening is you really foreshorten that movement. And this is just its application is really just for rolling right now in this thought process, right? So you pulling your knees to your chest is to kind of simulate like you've tucked forward and used your knees to pull your body forward. And if you're tense as you're trying to roll, your roll won't work because you foreshorten that movement. You can't move side to side. So being loose is super helpful. And the same thing holds true with edging. The same thing holds true with so many other components of the sport. Like, there are moments where you have to tense up, but those are short, fast movements. It's not something that is sustained. So being able to fully relax your body from time to time is kind of like a very important thing for paddlers from beginner to actual pro paddlers as well. So
one of my instructor mentors that I learned under at NOC was a guy by the name of John Miller, and I still remember him saying, "Loose hips equals safe ships."
That's right. Yeah, I've heard it a lot of different ways, and I like the loose hip saves ships thing. But as you see, I get actually tongue-tied pretty easily. And so I moved to tension as the enemy.
I like it.
Just because, and for so many people, we're hardwired, right? We have this lizard brain that exists inside of us that comes from the entirety of human nature. Like our ancestors survived because of certain things, right? And those things, I think, innately are part of your DNA. And part of that is like pushing away from danger and tensing up as you fall.
Yeah.
Like those are things that like your body naturally does when you start to fall, because it's to protect you.
Right.
And you're actually having to rewire some of those things completely, because as you're falling into the water, you've got to be able to stay loose so you can actually tuck over into your roll or continue to roll through with momentum, things of that nature. So that's kind of my favorite one as I'm first getting started out. So
love it. Now, what you think about, and I've had one of my guests called me out. They're like, I feel like you're asking about yourself here. And I'm like, well, maybe I am, but there's a lot of people I think fit this bill. An older, more seasoned paddler who stepped away from the sport. They could be at whatever level of skill, but now they want to come back to it. They're a little older. Their joints hurt a little bit more. And they're like, I want to get started back into kayaking again. What advice would you give that person?
I would say the thing that you have to do, and it's already started happening to me in kind of my mid approaching late 30s, is that you have to be honest with yourself about your energy levels, right? And again, like if you're thinking about your energy on a scale of 1 to 10, Monday, if you're paddling Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for instance, your Monday 7 is going to be like a 10 on Wednesday, right? Or when you decide you need to take a break, which is a 7 on the Monday, might actually be a 5 on the Wednesday, right? In terms of like the actual energy levels that you have. And so it's like being honest with yourself about where you are physically is the thing that I would say is the most important. And for me, it's a bit of an ego check, because there was a period of time where I could just go. I could keep going. I could go. I didn't have to rest. I didn't have to do things to recover. I could go. And now that's not the case. Like if I do 2 or 3 hard days of paddling, I've got to stretch. I've got to do things that are going to help my body recover, or otherwise I can't do that 4th day, especially in some of the freestyle boats where you're a little bit more cramped. So,
right.
Yeah.
Love it. Now, both of our, we share a mutual friend here at the Pucon Kayak Retreat, David Hughes, and they're one of the gracious sponsors of this podcast. So one of the segments is the Pucon Kayak Retreat Pro Flow Hot Tip. And I want you to give a hot tip. You're such a great photographer and videographer, and you created a lot of content. And I want to throw out a shout to one of our other partners, and for both of us is Level 6 Gear, and you just created an incredible video highlighting their new fabric and designs. So if somebody wanted to get into the production side of kayaking, making content, whether it's video or still photography, what would be your Pro Flow hot tip for that?
Develop your own eye. Don't use other people's, use things that you enjoy watching, enjoy looking at as a frame of reference, but don't let it be the thing that like you go out and try to replicate. Use that as your starting point and then move on from that. Like if it looks good to your eye, you're probably on the right track. Like if it's something that you're like, man, like I would print this out and put it in my house, you're on the right track. And so, when I'm doing some of these videos, like Alex Lohman, who is the team manager and kind of like the guy at Level 6, like we're doing storyboards and we're using references and frame references, and I really like what this company did, or I really like this frame from this project, like can we riff on this a little bit? So you definitely want to like develop your own eye, but at the same time use and borrow ideas from other people and then riff on them with your own take. But that would be my hot tip, is like really try to spend some time developing your own style, if that makes sense.
And if somebody wanted to get started, there's, whenever I was really pushing it hard and kayaking, in the late 90s, early 2000s, we didn't have the technology that we have today.
It's so easy now. Yeah.
Yeah. What pieces of technology would drone, GoPro, still cameras, like what would be like the starter kit?
I would say right now the starter kit's actually your phone.
Okay.
Like the newest phones have incredible cameras. Like our
Sure.
photo video department uses phones to make videos.
Oh, wow.
Because with the way our raft trips work at Wilderness Tours, the turnaround time from the end of the trip to because we play a video for, like, our video kayakers go down the river with every raft trip, film every rapid, and then put it together for the raft trip to be able to watch after they change into dry clothes.
Right.
Like the turnaround time is so tight. And because we're at the end of the stretch of the river, we made a switch to using phones. And so many people are on that, like, I need the new iPhone train. So you already have this incredible camera in your pocket, and you could start with that. I will say though that, like, I have a camera problem. I like cameras a lot. And it's become a bit of an infatuation or a hobby, I guess. But the camera that I use the most is a Sony camera. It's something called the A7C2, which is like a retro style camera. But I take pictures with that thing almost every day. So and it's an incredible camera for what you get. And I mean, I would say 90% of what I make is with that camera on, like, a personal level and in my everyday life. And then I would say, like, getting a interchangeable lens camera is something that you should aspire to do at some point if you're a water kayaker, because it just changes what you can do so dramatically. So
yeah, those type of cameras definitely take things to the next level as far as, like, color quality and zoom focus and things like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, and again, like, you hit the nail on the head. It's like a lens this big versus your phone, or a lens this big versus your phone is going to provide a totally different perspective. So, like, one of the things that people get really caught up on is having super shallow aperture, and that's helpful if you're shooting in really dark environments. But when it comes to, like, the movies that everybody loves and that look that you get, it actually is coming from compression, and it's coming, which happens with, like, focal lengths that are above, like, 35 millimeters and above. And then the other is, just, like, the aperture. So, like, people get really hung up on this idea when they first get an interchangeable lens camera of using really low apertures, because it's so different, and it helps you create, like, this really stark image where, like, your subject really sticks out from the frame. But, like, if you watch lots of, like, high-end movies, they're actually shooting on longer focal lengths with a higher aperture where more things are in focus. But because the lens creates compression and then that subject separation from the background, the person still pops off the screen. And that's something that I've gotten really into in the last probably 2 years. Is I'm very seldomly shooting at the fastest rates that my lenses can shoot at. I'm usually shooting somewhere around f8 to f10 on these lenses, but using the length of the lens to create that kind of separation and pop, so that way you can still see everything that's going on around. So
I certainly hope people out there who like photography know what you're talking about. Because that was way over my head. But hopefully there's people out there who are like, oh yeah, totally, aperture, compression, F8, F10. Oh yeah, thanks for the advice, Casey. That's great.
Yeah,
but
we took a total tangent away from kayaking. Yeah,
that was great, but I have no idea what you're talking about. But we each have our own little intricacies and specialties. Where we nerd out a little bit there.
I am a camera nerd through and through.
That's cool.
So
that's a good skill to have in the whitewater world for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's gotten me a lot of opportunities to go really cool places. So yeah, for sure. Before we got to talking, there was a loose invite for me to come to the Ottawa again. Yes.
And so if I do that, we'll get to run some rapids, but now we're going to run some proverbial rapids here together.
Okay. Yes.
So this is, you've listened to some of the other episodes, so you know we do this at the end. I throw out a topic.
Yeah.
You can't walk these rapids. You have to run them. So you can't take a pass. So I'll throw out a topic. You're going to give me your top 3 to 5, and then the last rapid, we are going to run blind, and I will go ahead and tell you that's going to be play spots in the world. And so I'll explain the rules on that when we get there.
Okay.
But the first one I always start with is boat designs of all time.
Boat designs of all time. Oh, man. Most impactful or my favorite?
However you want to judge it, I usually tell people to do their favorite.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and throw out most impactful being the Riot Hammer. Riot, cool. That started the planing hole trend.
Right.
Like, we have to give credit where credit was due, you know.
Sure.
Even though I've never owned one. And then my favorite boat to paddle, it's the Clutch. I really like the Jackson Clutch quite a bit. That boat is basically like the perfect kayak for me and what I like to do. So
nice.
Yeah.
Any others on Mount Rushmore? You just going with two on there?
I got to go with the freestyle kayak. It has to be the featherweight.
Okay.
Yeah. So my brother-in-law Joel has very graciously allowed me to paddle his extra one. And it is, for a tall person like myself, it is simply the most comfortable freestyle kayak I've ever paddled. So
very cool.
Yeah. So
rivers of all time.
Ooh. For me, Fuda La Fu.
Yep.
Rio Claro, Wailuku in Hawaii, and the Ottawa River.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Countries to paddle in.
Countries to paddle in. I have a very, 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 very soft spot for Chile. I think Chile is maybe one of the most welcoming paddling communities I've ever gotten to be part of. That was really awesome. I think people forget how awesome the United States is as well. There's tons of great paddling in the United States, and there's tons of great paddling in Canada. You know, and, you know, I haven't done any paddling really to speak of, you know, down in Mexico in terms of like the runs there, but that looks incredible as well. And that's a place that I hope to spend more time in the future. So.
Okay. A river you've never done that you want to do.
Ooh, Stikine.
Okay.
Stikine is so high. It's
gonna
my holy
happen?
grail.
Like,
it's
is
my
that gonna happen, or like some people have said that and they're like, but I've aged out of it. I'm not trying to age you out of anything.
Yeah.
But is that something like you definitely like you're gonna get on it?
I want to get on it, but I only want to do it if I've got some pretty hard criterion that have to be met, because it's during the busiest time of year for the business here, and that ultimately the business, it doing well, and then therefore my family having means to live, you know, off of is the most important thing. So if I'm going to take that time off, it's got to hit a couple of things. And I have this like dream of doing a 5-day descent and shooting the most thorough video of the Stikine that's ever been made. That's like the dream. And that's the only way I would take the time off, if that makes sense. So,
man, I hope you get to do that. That sounds amazing.
I hope so too.
Kayakers of all time, and you can gauge this however you want. It could be your own personal, whatever you think.
So, most important kayaker in terms of just like sport development probably has to be EJ. I think he developed the sport along with Core and Addison in a way that like the design and the competition side of what they were doing was so impactful to the direction of the sport. But in terms of, for me, most impactful kayakers, especially as like a teenager and keeping me interested in the sport. Wayne Dickert, Chris Hipgrave, and my brother Chandler Jones. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So this rapper, we're going to run blind.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw out some play spots to you.
Okay.
You got to rank them.
Okay. All right.
All right. So, number 1 would be your favorite play spot. 5th would be your 5th favorite. You don't know what's coming next.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Push button.
5th.
Garb.
3rd.
Okay. Aquarium wave on the Fuda.
4th.
Okay. So you got 1 and 2 left, right?
Yeah.
All right. Hungry mother on the Golly.
2nd.
Okay. NOC store wave.
I spent an inordinate amount of time stacking rocks, and so if you give me the pre 2013 hole and give me the old one, I'll go ahead and take that with the.
You take that one.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Yeah.
Was Quarry Rapid a thing? The play spot at Quarry? Were you ever there for that?
Yes, Quarry was, and I have a great story of that. The first time I came through Quarry after it got built up, I dry swam out of it. I got stuck in a side surf in that ultra clean as like I don't know how old I was. And I got window shaded, and then I think one more window shade, but it was going from upright to upside down, upright, upside down. And the last one brought me upright, and I pulled my skirt while I was upright and just fell off the back of the boat.
And approximately what year would that have been?
Oh man, I was probably like 11 or 12. Yeah.
So what year were you born?
So 1991. So,
okay, so 2002.
Yeah. 2002, 2003, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I probably was there. I probably was like, who's this kid swimming out of an ultra clean?
Yeah. Why is he in an ultra clean? It was because that's all I could afford.
I could relate to that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, Casey, the last question is our final flow.
Yes.
And, the river gods have come down and they've said this is the last time you ever get to put on a spray skirt.
Okay.
The good news is you get to pick your crew, you get to pick your boat, and you get to pick the river.
Okay. Ottawa River.
Yep.
Crew would be my wife, my best friend Eli Castleberry, my other best friend Tino Spate, and my brother-in-law Joel, and then my daughters.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Any particular boat or just anything that floats?
Ooh, well, if the daughters are coming, it has to be a Terrible 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, because both of them are pretty young and have to be in the front of the kayak. So, yeah.
Can you fit both of them in there?
No, we my wife and I just bought a second one, so our younger daughter
so your wife's in one and you're in the other with the Terrible 2 with the kiddos. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Casey, thanks for being on B-Flow Sessions. Thanks for everything that you do in the sport, from all the video work that you do, instruction. I mean, you've probably brought so many people into the sport and running such a great business now there at Ottawa Kayak School. Thanks for everything you do.
Thank you for having me on, and I'm excited to get to have you up here and get you back out on the Ottawa, because again, man, like as somebody that has probably pushed past that point of always wanting to redline, this river is so incredible, and it's just like it's one of those places where you can just feel like your cup is full all the time, which is really cool. So
very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until I get up there, let's stay in touch.
All right. Sounds good. I'll be looking forward to seeing you.
All right. Thanks, Casey.
All right. Cheers, bud. All right. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of B-Flow Sessions, where we explore how paddlers find their flow on the water and in life. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow the show, leave a rating, or share it with a friend. It truly helps us grow the community. And a huge thank you to Pucon Kayak Retreat for sponsoring today's episode. If you're ready for a world-class Chilean whitewater adventure, email me at bflowkayak@gmail.com and I'll help you get dialed in. Until next time, keep finding your flow.